As part of my training to become a priest in the Church of England, I have been set the challenge of making a short video in which I speak about the spiritual life, the life of faith, in a way that makes sense to people both within my tradition, but also, importantly, beyond my tradition. So this is my attempt, and I would be hugely grateful for any feedback that you would like to give me. And because I think that one of the truths of the spiritual path is that it isn't lived in isolation, I thought I'd speak a little bit about one of my friends on my own journey. And it isn't someone I ever met, but a 20th century writer and novelist called Elizabeth Goudge. I first encountered her as a child. She wrote a book called The Little White Horse, which I adored. It was a simple story, full of rich characters, and in particular, she writes wonderful animals. And I found this book, without quite knowing why, deeply comforting. Looking back on that, I think it was perhaps because it's full of goodness and courage and forgiveness, and above all, hope. It's a profoundly hopeful story. Later in my 20s, I read her adult novels. I've got one here, it's called The Rosemary Tree. At university, for the first time, I started going to church regularly and exploring Christianity in a serious way. And sometimes that was a source of great joy and hope. But sometimes I found the certainty and even the arrogance of some religious people and some religious ideas quite off-putting. I didn't do certainty about the things of faith, and I still don't. And if that kind of very certain and rather superior Christianity, or that's what it felt like to me, if that had been the only kind on offer, I think I might have given up the Christian life. But the novels of Elizabeth Goudge showed me a very different way of being Christian, a gentler way that didn't divide people into us and them, good and bad, but saw God at work everywhere and in everyone. Her characters were flawed, real humans trying to live simple lives of goodness, and even the ones with faith struggled with it. It was never easy. It was a way of being Christian that I could relate to. In particular, she had a profound respect for the spiritual lives of children that has stayed with me ever since. She treated children's inner life with the utmost seriousness. So I'm going to read a very short extract from The Rosemary Tree. It's about a little girl, she's 5, and she remembers what she calls that other country. The other country she came from before she was born. And the reader is gently invited to realise that the author is saying, this is the country we will go back to. And this little girl can still sometimes go there at will, though less and less as she gets older. And she's describing it here. She says, she never quite knew what it would be that cradled her there. It might be golden praise, or the blue of purity, or scarlet courage, or just light, or just darkness. It depended on the day and the time. They were all good, but the light was very good, because it enabled her to see right to the horizons of the country where the mountains were. The darkness was best of all, even though she saw nothing and did nothing in it, because it loved her. There have been dark times on my journey of faith. There are dark times in every life. And at those times, I seriously doubted whether there was a place for me in the church and whether I believed anything at all, much less in the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus, Mary's son. And when that happened, it was my friends on the journey, friends like Elizabeth Googe, that kept me going, that kept me searching for a mystery that's beyond words, but which, as the little girl says, loves us. And if you've listened to my words this far, thank you so much, and God bless.